Hey, hey, welcome everybody. We're 1 week into March. So excited to see everybody hopping on. Okay, I see a great crowd so far. Go ahead and turn your camera on. Come as you are. Super, super encouraging to be interacting with each other's faces and get a glimpse of where everybody's at, what you have going on. We were talking in our diamond thread today. Cassandra Roberts said, I just really want someone to speak at convention in their pajamas. And I loved that idea because that is how we build incredible things in this business. Like I have done so much of this with a baby on my hip, not showered. So I think it's time we normalize that and celebrate that. We're happy you're here, hat, hair, and all. Okay, so, oh, good. I'm jotting down names of everyone I see who's on because I like to just know that. Okay. Yay. So we are coaching tonight about events. And I planned an event for February and executed that event, and several things about it went nothing like I hoped. And it was such a revelation process of becoming aware of the thoughts that were popping up in the planning, the thoughts that were popping up in the inviting, the thoughts that were popping up as I was getting responses or lack of responses, thoughts that were popping up as I was following up, and the day of, and in the days to follow. And so first thing I want to challenge you with is that any action that you take to build your dream, to build plexus, any action that you take, I would challenge you to really be aware and notice what is popping up as you try to create that thing. And I actually took some time. Now, this was a discipline. It took time, but I actually sat down a few days after and I wrote out, it's about 10 things that I wanted to intentionally learn from this process, and 10 things that I wanted to celebrate from this process, even though it did not go like I hoped. Now, if you take nothing away nothing else tonight away other than this, I hope you take away just a feeling of, again, normalized that even diamonds experience the discouragement, the head trash, the obstacles that you face. And you can hopefully come away from that going, oh, okay, I thought I was just a loser. I thought just nobody wanted to come to my event. But it turns out that happens even to awesome people, because I'm an awesome person. And so are you. And this kind of thing happens to awesome people all the time. Also, Gretchen is on with us tonight as our co-hostess. So she's gonna unmute and do some curious questions with me. And I really want you guys to look alive in the chat, as always. We decided tonight we didn't choose specific people who were going to unmute and coach, like have a turn with Gretchen, have a turn with me. We're just going to call on people and unmute as we go, after we share a little bit, and just kind of dive in from there. So please sound off as things come up for you. If something I say really resonates with you or really brings something up for you, a thought, a sentence, an emotion, please share it. You're among great friends here, and we have probably dealt with something similar. So as those little thoughts are coming up, please type out those sentences that you feel are creating either fear or nerves or holding you, maybe feel like are keeping you stuck in some way. Okay. Roberta's unable to mute, she says. Maybe you guys can look at that on the host end. Okay, so let's dive in. At the top of my page, I wrote, we are assigned to believe before we can see the harvest. That I feel has been a big theme of my last 2 years in Plexus. In my first several years in Plexus, harvest was just coming in. And I believed, but I also saw the harvest. And in the last couple of years, I have been digging in new ways, adapting, trying new things, and not seeing the harvest all the time. And it's been a real discipline to remember the concept of investing, that I am investing in people, I'm investing in my purpose, and I'm investing in this business, believing for a harvest and a legacy long before I see it. And I hope that that's the vision and the mindset that you carry in. It's not rank specific, okay? It's not just something that you can operate out of if you are a diamond. That is what we can all do. So we're assigned to believe before we can see the harvest. So let me tell you about this event that I wanted to do. I have been actively pursuing business builders. I am interested in building new teams. I love the teams I have, but the points that I have are coming from the teams that I have. And I recognize that if I want more points, that is going to come from planting and watering new teams. The same is for all of y'all. We can, of course, go out there and find new people to be blessed by our products and start a health journey. But that's where you add. And if you want to start to multiply, we do that by planting brand partners and letting those start to blossom into teams. And so my mind has been targeted hot and heavy on posting about the business, reaching out about the business, and adding to my close network people that I really see as just like-minded, that they meet the qualities on my dream team list. Those are the people that I want to be interacting with on social media and in real life. So that's been my focus. And I decided it was time to host a local event. And I had been a little bit like squeamish about that. There had been a couple years go by where specifically with local people, I had not talked to them about Plexus yet. Can anyone relate with that? I'm like, I talk to people about Plexus every day. I bold, I stretch myself, I do the scary thing, but there was honestly a growing list of people that I had not broached the topic with. And I think it's because they're local, and there was something about doing life with them in my neighborhood or my church or my small group that had me kind of stuck in a place of fear. And I decided, okay, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it at an event. That's the face-to-face is the best way for me to share my heart, share my story, and really get my message across. So I knew I wanted to do an in-person event. I also knew, this is something I've thought about for a long time, I really want hungry people. I want to find workers, business builders who are hungry to create something awesome. And yes, they may have struggles. They may run into head trash issues. We all do. But I thought, I don't want to be like dragging people to come do this with me, or dragging people to the events or the trainings or the calls or to do their IPAs every day. I am looking for people who are hungry. And so I have had that in my mind too, very much. So I thought, I'm going to create a hard copy invitation, send it to them in the mail. They're going to get it like they would if they were invited to a special tea party or a birthday party. I want them to feel like I intentionally thought of them and sent them something in the mail. I also reached out to a local leader who is on my team. She has been inactive for a couple of years, but has expressed interest in re-engaging with her business. And so I also thought to myself, I'm a little intimidated to do this. It's been a while since I've hosted something in person. So one, I'm going to amplify, multiply the impact of my effort by pulling in another team member and letting this be something that also blesses and grows her network and her business. And it will also strengthen me. It'll to kind of team up together, do something with her. So thought of that, did that. We designed this invitation. Guys, I put 72 cards in the mail. I got 68 no's or no responses. 72 beautiful invitations in the mail. 68 no or no response. Okay. So if you just feel a little more normal right now, and you just feel like I gave you a hug through the computer, that's what I'm hoping you feel. I hope you know that like you're doing awesome. Okay. You're doing awesome. So I got 68 no's or no responses. I got one yes. The day of the event, her husband got sick and she couldn't come. I got 3 maybes, and the 3 maybes could not come. Let's see. So the first thing that I learned and that I'm celebrating when it comes to that is that I left everything on the field, and that the outcome I got was not because I did not do 100% of what was in my power. Okay. I worked leading up to that event. And I always say this when I'm doing an event with a new person as we get them launched. This is kind of a common trap. So let's just make sure we all know it. When you plan an event, you pick a night, you pick a theme. I always say spend 99% of your effort getting butts in seats. You can plan your outline the day before. You really can, and it can be awesome, but it doesn't do much good if you get this amazing outline planned out and you have all these beautiful sample bags and exactly the testimony you're going to share and a slide presentation and your house is all clean, but you haven't invited and followed up and gotten people there. So I just really want to challenge everybody. 99% effort leading up to an event is getting butts in seats. Capiche? Okay. And then spend time the day before making sure that you're prepared, you have an outline, and that you're practicing your presentation skills and your eyes are alert and you're smiling and you're using your hands and not talking like a robot. All of that is super important, okay? But priority number one, butts and seats. Okay. Another win that I'm celebrating is that out of 72 cards I sent out, I got 38 people moved into the first chair in the row. If you've been to Gold School, you remember Genevieve's presentation. It's a great presentation. She talks about the process of getting someone to order or join. Imagine a line of chairs. And when you first reach out to them and they tell you no, you have moved them into the first chair. Way to go. Time to celebrate. Okay, I moved 38 people into the first chair because I had 38 conversations. Well, I'll take that back. I had 51 conversations to follow up. Some of the people never responded, so I didn't count them, but I had 51 conversations to follow up. I did not just send them a card. I reached out a few days before and said, "Did you get my card in the mail? I hope I'm going to see you on Sunday." I did that with every single person. Okay, so 51 conversations to follow up. Some didn't respond, but 38 people did respond, and I was able to move them into the first chair in the row. So go me, that is awesome. 72 seeds are now strongly planted. Okay. They got a card in the mail from me. They are going to be watching me. I showed intentionality. I showed pride and confidence in what I'm doing. And I showed a serious effort to share with them. So somewhere down the line, whether they get another message from me or they see a post from me or they see a post from someone else or they see somebody else drinking their pink drink, they're going to think about the person who intentionally, confidently showed effort to reach out and share Plexus with them. Oh, I need to tell y'all too, like on the written invitation, I said, you are invited to a gathering of wholehearted healing ladies to consider or reconsider how Plexus could bless you in 2023. And then I included a little blurb, a testimony from me and a little testimony from Lorelei. And it was a business and a product ask. I was very clear in my little testimony about how much this has blessed us from a health standpoint and with my husband's medical pursuits and our finances. Okay. I got 4 coffee dates, dinner plans, or play dates in the works because of these conversations. So I was given opportunities to pour into and love on and really show people how much I truly do care about them. And remember, guys, I have a list of the attributes of the people I am looking for, I'm looking to partner with. And I have a list of names of people who I am looking to do relationship and life with, whether that does or doesn't include Plexus, although I know Plexus would bless them. And I very much hope that one day they see that too. But yeah, 4 coffee dates, dinner plans, play dates, etc. in the works because of those conversations. Also, the event day came. And as I told you, spoiler alert, I had my 3 maybes could not come and my 1 yes could not come. So at that point, it turned into me getting to spend 3 hours of uninterrupted time with Lorelei. And lots of you are on this call on Lorelei's team. And if you're not on her team, you might still know her, but she's one of my most important leaders. She's one of my most impactful, strong leaders. And she connects best with me in person. We're both busy moms. And when I try to text her, I don't hear back for a few days, and it's usually 4 or 5 word response. It's just not how we connect best. But we had set the time aside. We had arranged the room. The families were cared for. So we had 3 hours together I could take a pulse where she's at, what's been holding her back, what's been going on in her world, ask curious questions, coach, pray, all of that good stuff. Heck, she's been in Thailand, so she didn't even know about Hydrate or Reset or Glow. So just as valuable as the product presentation was going to be for our guests, it was extremely valuable and helpful for her. I was also able to give her a great pulse on some of the movers and shakers that are rising up on her team since she's been gone, and kind of show her some of y'all's testimonies. So that was a really fabulous opportunity. Let's see. So we explored some hangups, blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah. And like named a few baby steps for how she can begin to reengage. And we did not part ways without putting our next event on the calendar. So we picked April 3rd. We're doing it again. And I will say too, that she had 3 people. She had 3 people show up from her list of invites. So again, that was me making sure that there was going to be impact from me doing this, whether any of my 72 came or not. And there was, because I was able to pour back into Lorelei, and we were able to bless and educate her 3 guests that showed up. There was so much excitement, connection, and interest with those of her people that did come. So that was awesome. Okay. Next, I was able to become aware of some of the thought cycles that happen with putting myself out there, hosting in person and hearing no's. Oh my goodness, guys, like that was a lot of no's. And they were my in-person friends. Okay. And for the most part, they were sweet and thanked me for thinking of them. But there were a couple that said, I am just not interested. And that hurt a little bit. It stung a little bit. There was one in particular that I felt really misunderstood me. And so that was a really great opportunity for some self-coaching, because, I felt the sting. I felt my blood pressure rise. I felt my pulse quicken, and I had to pause and take a step back and go, this is not about me. And this does not represent who I am or who my team is or what I'm doing. So without going too into detail about that, I'll just kind of explain to you how I handled it. The girl wrote me back, or I followed up and said, did you get my invitation? I hope to see you on Sunday. And she wrote me back and she said, oh, I'm not going to that. I'm not interested in employment. And I said, oh, yikes. I was not trying to hire you. This is a special mom's afternoon that I was really hoping you could come to. And she wrote back and said, oh, well, based on your invitation, I thought it looked like it was a Plexus thing. Granted, y'all, this is a sweet person. Okay. So this totally took me off guard. So based on your invitation, I thought this was a Plexus thing. So yeah, I had to take a pause, decide how I was going to respond. I came back and I said, yes, you're right. I'm planning to share about Plexus. I sent you the card in the mail because I wanted you to feel intentionally thought of. Okay, so I just had to go back to my why and my purpose in sharing Plexus and what I was doing by inviting her. And so I said, I was really looking forward to the opportunity to connect with you. And I sent you the card in the mail because I wanted you to feel intentionally thought of. And that really did kind of diffuse some of the ire that I was feeling from her. And again, I pray and hope that she will look back on that interaction and go, maybe this is something I want or need, or maybe this is a friendship that actually would really bless me. But yeah, there's so many thought patterns that pop up when we get those types of responses. And so we have to really quickly take those thoughts captive and ask ourselves, okay, how am I feeling? How am I feeling about this? Okay, what am I making it mean about me? What's the truth? And how am I going to replace that thought with something that is actually true? Let's see. Oh yeah, just a couple more. And then I can't wait to read through the comments and see what's coming up for y'all, what's resonating with y'all. I think one of the biggest wins from this and the biggest things I learned from this is it did not look anything like it looked in the year I was building to Emerald or the 2 years following that I built to Sapphire and Diamond. Like I said, the harvest was very visible. And I'm in a season of my business right now where I'm having to believe for the harvest before I can see it. And I'm having to take these opportunities that God is giving me to learn and persevere. It is such a blessing, even though it's so hard, but I'm being given opportunities to learn and persevere and tweak and shift and pivot and hold hope high and all of these things that I just wasn't really having to learn when I built to Emerald, Sapphire, and Diamond. But I can tell you this, guys, that it is so valuable to be in the trenches with my team. And you will find, if you haven't already found, as you reach different heights as a leader, the temptation, and I won't even call it, it's just a tendency. Sometimes you don't even know you're doing it, but to slip into management mode and just to start kind of orchestrating, trying to move little things around from the management standpoint and just kind of slipping out of those active IPA trenches. It's very easy to do. Okay. Because you have to actually get out there and reach out to someone or invite them over or call them or follow up with them. Those are very active things. And so the passive option, just to not do that, like that's really easy. So we can all slip into that, and probably all have slipped into that at times. But when I am doing these things, when I am in the trenches with my team, it is so fresh on my mind what it feels like for my new worker, my new silver, when I am helping them reach out, helping them get their first 3 or their first 9 for senior silver, or helping them host their launch event. And we're doing all the posts and the reach outs and the follow-ups and the lives. Man, I'm really glad that the feelings that they're having pop up are fresh on my mind. And that I'm just ready and able to kind of guide and coach and get curious with them and just not commiserate, but just relate. Okay. Relate with what they're going through. So that's incredibly valuable. And oh man, every year that we do the 100 reach outs, I feel the same thing. Like when I'm in that high activity, even if there's not a heck of a lot of fruit from it right away, I still just count my blessings because I realize this is what it feels like. This is what it feels like when you're in high activity. This is the stuff that comes against you that we have to be ready to help our people navigate. And then the last thing I wrote down is many of these will become yeses. 72 cards in the mail, 68 no's or no responses, and then 3 maybes or yeses that didn't end up coming. That's basically 72, 0 for 72. But many of these will become yeses. I'm confident of that because I've been in this business for 8 years and I have seen that very thing happen. Most of you that are my level ones today are here after telling me no or ignoring me for a long, long time. So I'm confident that many of those people will become yeses. And then this is kind of a little hilarious side note, but I'm just going to say it because I think the theme of tonight is just for you to feel so validated in how, and what a horrendous flop this was in so many ways. I ended up having a meeting set up or like a hangout, whatever, coffee date with one of the girls who I really had been reaching out to. We had coffee at my house. She brought up some health issues at the coffee date that, I was like, oh man, she really needs plexus. And so I got up my courage and I told her, hey, I really think that plexus could help you with those things. And whatever you decide, I'm still here to love on you, support you, all of that. But I would feel terrible if I didn't even mention it to you. So I brought it up and I told her about it. Okay. 2 nights later, she reached out to me and she said, hey, I have some questions about plexus. Oh my gosh, it was such a victorious moment. I was like happy dancing in my kitchen. It was so awesome. Visions are coming of how she's going to be a diamond on my team. And then I found out that she has used plexus for 7 years and she's on Jordan Roddenberry's team. Okay, so there we go. So what did I do? I said, oh my gosh, well, you are in great hands. And I'm happy to give you some guidance on what I think would help you. I would have loved for you to tell me that when I sent you that sample on your birthday. But I'm happy to guide you. If you need any extra guidance, you're in awesome hands. I really hope that you decide to take the brand partner option because you would be amazing at it. And here's what I learned from that. Like, I serve a God who is a God of absolute abundance. Everything is possible for him. He can make something out of nothing. Okay. He fed 5,000 people with 5 loaves, 2 fishes, and had 12 baskets left over. He has no limits. He has unlimited resources, unlimited energy, unlimited love. He can bring me other diamonds, even though all of these people did not pan out. And the one person who did pan out and asked me about Plexus is already on Jordan Roddenberry's team. Okay. So I was just itching to share all of that with you. And I hope that something in that, or many somethings in that, resonated or encouraged you in some way. And we're going to do it again. We're going to do an event on April 3rd. We're going to learn from the last one, and we're going to keep on going. And I really do think that sometimes these things just need to catch on a little bit. Jenna Hatula is a wonderful diamond I like to follow. She's built a lot of momentum in the last couple of years. Obviously, her physical testimony is just takes your breath away. So I know that's a big part of it. But she has shared with us that she created a local meetup every week, and they do a walking club. And they share a little bit about Plexus, and then they go walking. And the group has just grown and grown and grown and grown. So I'm always on the lookout for ways to get my presentation face-to-face in front of people. It's the most impactful, and ways to tweak it. If what I did this time was not successful, I'm just looking for ways to tweak it. Okay. So since we don't have specific coaches pulled in for tonight, I would love a chance to look through the chat and see, maybe grab some names from there. So Megan, do you have a moment where you could chime a few things in while I look through the chat?
Oh yeah, for sure. Bless your heart, Carissa. She sent me Marco Polos about, I was just curious, like what she experienced, what she learned from her in-person event. And she shared all of this over Marco Polo with me. And I was like, you have got to train on this, because this is a relatable thing that everyone can glean from. So yes, no, I just really appreciated what you shared. And I thought, well, I took a couple notes. One specifically was that 90% of our effort when we're working specifically on an in-person event, but I think you could apply it to an online event as well. 90% of our effort needs to be getting people in, like, to the event, and not just to say yes, but actually there. And so, and because the presentation and some of those other things can be quickly figured out. And then I really just appreciated the believing for the harvest before we can see it. And that just totally goes along with what Dr. Henry Cloud shared with us 2 weekends ago about vision. I just shared it on our team call, but I can share it again. But basically that we have the ability to create something that doesn't exist yet. But one of the things that I have been challenging some people in my recent, like, one-on-one or two-on-one coaching sessions have been, if you can't go there in your mind, that's the first problem, because you have a problem with vision, being able to see something before it happens. And so I think it's just really interesting to note that if you struggle with seeing yourself as whatever it is at your next rank, or if your ultimate goal is emerald or diamond or whatever, you need to be able to see that before it happens, and go there in your mind first. And then I always appreciate just bringing us around to that the Lord is a God of abundance, and he can more than abundantly provide the people that are looking for what we have. And I truly believe that. Like, I just go back to the fact that I'm not done helping people yet, and we help one, and then we help one, and then we help one, and it's sometimes it feels like, oh my word, did I waste my time? It's never a waste. It's always we got to share in love with someone, even if it's someone else's person. Or, hey, I got a lot of practice doing that sip and see that no one showed up for, that I drove 3 hours to, or whatever it is, that it's all cumulatively adding up and just stacking those experiences that help shape us and grow us into the leader that we're becoming.
Thank you. And Gretchen, I would love for you to chime in too. And then I have a few people I want to ask to unmute to ask them a few other questions.
Sure. Yeah, I just so related to what you shared, because yeah, I mean, these are just common things to us all, the thoughts and yeah, the thoughts, the feels, all of those things. But I loved the way that you searched for the win, because in all labor there is profit, whether somebody comes or not. Just us going through the experience of taking action, there are things that that we learn. There are good things that come from it. And I just thought it was very wise of you to sit down and identify those good things. And yes, there were seeds that were planted that are going to bear fruit in the future. It's just the nature of it. So I love that you took that time to sit down and identify some of the wins that came from that experience, because we've all had experiences where we've tried things and it didn't end up looking like what we thought it was going to look like. And that's okay. Because we stepped out and we faced fears and we tried something new and we planted seeds and started things with people. So I loved that. And also when you had that unexpected response from that very sweet lady, just the way that you took a moment and were just, gave yourself a moment to feel the feelings and kind of identify it and work through it, and put some gentle and intentional thought into how to respond to that. And it really showed in your response, because that was great and sweet and good. And yeah, just really appreciated that.
Thank you for highlighting those two things for sure. Yeah, it felt so sort of weird to sit down and just take notes, but y'all, I could feel it pulling me under. Okay. Like I could feel the failure of it all is honestly what it felt like. And I could feel that really pulling me under. And we all feel the temptation sometimes when something like we put ourselves out there and then we feel like what we get back is a rejection or just a painful experience. That's a quick habit killer. I think we read Tiny Habits earlier this year, and I know some of y'all are reading it too. And he talks about how you create a habit is by getting some positive emotion quickly coming with that new action. Well, the opposite is true. Like when negative emotion comes after you try a new thing, it's a very quick way to shut something down and not make it into a habit. So I had to get intentional and quick, and not to say that I couldn't acknowledge like that these things were painful. This whole experience, there was a lot of pain in this experience. But I had to sit down and take it captive and acknowledge what was a win, what to celebrate, how to cultivate positive emotions surrounding this whole experience. Because I could definitely feel, so many of us, I think, would want to shut down, like would want to go, ugh, I'm not going to do that again, or anything even remotely like it. But it's the opposite. It's that the more scary things we do and the more we try, the luckier we're going to get. Okay. So Gretchen and I are just going to tag team since we didn't pull anyone specifically in. And I was hoping for Charlotte and Myrna to unmute. Because everybody said, lots of people said they resonate with a lot of what was said. And you two, gave us a few specific sentences as far as where you feel held back or where you feel stuck when it comes to this. And Myrna, you specifically said, I'm just not sure how or where to host an event. And actually, Gretchen, this reminded me of a coaching session I watched you have when you said you want more business builders, and Jessica Heffley said, okay, well, how much do you post about the business? You remember this? This was months ago. How much do you post about the business? And you were like, not very much. And you guys started coaching about it. And then you interrupted with, okay, well, how often, it was a technical question. It was like, okay, well, how often is the right amount? And do you remember what she said back to you?
I don't. I have some other huge takeaways from that particular coaching call, which is why it stands
Good.
out. But fill me in on what you remember.
Hey, yeah, I want to hear those too. So she basically talked about how our brain always does this. When there's something that we are afraid to try or create, our brain will try to get us kind of muddled up in the how. Well, how, where can I do this? And that it kind of gives us an out, like it kind of gives us just an easy, simple reason not to do it. So Myrna, it's not to say that the how and the where aren't vital. I mean, you do have to have it somewhere. But I will tell you that I had to just pick my date and reach out and pick my power partner. And then we came up with the where after we committed that we were doing it. We committed that we were doing it and we picked the day. And then we figured out the how. It was, for me, it was a matter of actually deciding that I was going to figure it out, that it was going to be figure outable and I was going to figure it out. Gretchen, Myrna, I haven't even had you really unmute yet, but Gretchen, I want to hear a few more things about big takeaways from that coaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll just piggyback real quick on what you were saying. As far as hows and wheres and committing, and you will figure it out, because I've done things in people's houses in little bitty living rooms. I've done things at a library. I know other folks have done things just meeting together in the corner of a restaurant. So yeah, really, when we decide to do something, if we're decided to do it, we will find the ways, and those doors might not open till after we've actually made the decision.
Mm-hmm.
So I so vividly remember this super helpful coaching call with Jessica, because she helped me take captive some thoughts that I didn't even realize I was thinking. I started for the business. So in my mind, I don't mind posting about the business. So she just asked me, well, why don't you want new business builders? Why don't you post about it more? And I said, well, I think because it takes more thought and a little more intentionality to write out a post about the business. And she helped me kind of capture this thought that I didn't even realize I was thinking. And she said, okay, so what you're saying is that it's harder to post about the business. She said, what if, and I know I made the comment that I just, I don't have a whole lot of ideas in this realm. And she just pointed out, she said, I was just scrolling on your Facebook wall. She said, you have lots of good ideas. You're doing things with your kids all the time, and you're posting. I can just tell you have lots of good ideas. What if it's not as hard as you think? What if it's not as hard as you're making it? I actually have that written down. You can't see it because it's on the other side of my laptop, but I have it written down here in my workspace because it's one of the new thoughts that I'm practicing. And you know what? We got off the coaching call and it was so inspiring. It was so freeing. And right there, I had 2 ideas that I put down in the notes on my phone for business posts specifically. One of them I had up, I don't remember if it was that afternoon or if I took the pictures that day and posted it the next afternoon, but I had them up right away because you know what? I am full of good ideas, even about posting about the business. And it doesn't even have to be my ideas all the time. I get lots of inspiration from following other gals and thinking how I could tweak that. But it's just so interesting, those things that we think just that we haven't even identified. So identifying those things, taking them captive. And you know what? It's not hard to post about the business. It was not as hard as I had made it in my mind, without even realizing that I was doing that. So
good.
That all really stood out to me because it was so tremendously helpful number one, in identifying a thought I hadn't even realized I was thinking, and being able to flip that, and just the energy and the excitement and the inspiration that came out of that was such a blessing. And that's what I find happens over and over again in coaching.
Okay, so Myrna, can you unmute? I see your shower curtain. Looks like your bathroom.
That's not my shower curtain.
Oh, okay. You're
Hey, I'm in the bedroom.
okay. Okay, so Myrna, where could you possibly do an event?
That's what I was thinking about when y'all are talking, because like she said, my house is, I'm gonna live in a mobile home, so it's small.
Okay.
So I was thinking about like doing it at the local coffee house, the one that we used for the Plexus what do you call it? Convention.
Okay.
With McKenna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. That's good. And you said how can I do an event? So what let's think of how you could do one.
Okay. That's
How
a scary
where?
part for me. That's a scary one for me. It's because so many friends of mine have been part of MLMs, and so it's always scared
Okay.
for me even try to have a party to tell them. I've helped my mom with Pampered Chef, so I'm like, I'm not 100% sure on how to do this by myself.
So the thought you're having is I'm scared to bring this up with these certain people because why?
We have had so many MLMs with personal friends of mine.
Okay. So,
Excuse me.
okay. So how long have you been in Plexus?
5 years.
Yeah. You've been in Plexus a long time. And from my vantage point, you've been really dedicated in Plexus for a long time. So it could be true that these local friends of yours just think it's one MLM after another, so flighty. But what else could be true?
That it works for me, that it's helped me and my mom and my family.
Okay. And it's worked for you for 5 years. And you've been
Yes.
dedicated and committed for 5 years. Is it possible
Yeah.
that they've seen that?
I know some friends of mine have seen it. And another thing is the money issue, because a lot of them live off of church offerings, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So they can't really afford it. And
Yeah.
so always the money issue always comes up.
Yep. Okay. So you grown in your ability to afford your products in these 5 years?
Yes.
Okay. So let's think about that. So what's true for you is that you maybe couldn't afford this to begin with, but you've applied yourself in some amazing ways, and Plexus now pays for Plexus.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's come up with a thought that you can practice when it comes to these people in your local circle, because you're having a fear that you're scared to even bring it up with them because they've been exposed to so many other MLMs, and because you've decided for them that they can't afford it. So
Right.
let's practice some other thoughts that could also be true.
Oh, I tried to think on that one.
Anybody have one you want to suggest to Myrna in the comments? I want it to be in your words, because your words is what your brain is going to respond to.
Right.
But it's also a little weird being on the spot. So anyone else want to chime in the chat? But Myrna, you keep thinking.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
is it up to you that they can't afford it, or is it up to them?
It's up to them.
Okay. It's up to them if they can't afford it. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good one. It's up to them what they can or can't afford. I couldn't afford it in the beginning. Now I can. Ooh, Megan and Justin wrote, I love when people have done other MLMs because they come in with skill sets.
True.
That's a good one. Let me ask you this. So some of you know Myrna, some of you don't. But I know that Myrna is a very bold evangelist. So do you decide whether somebody is ready to receive the message of Jesus Christ, or do you deliver the message?
Deliver the message.
Okay, so that's a great area in your life where you have evidence that you don't decide for people whether they're ready for the message. You deliver the message. So let's borrow a thought from that area of your life, and let's apply it to this message.
Good. Husband was checking on me. So what was that?
Okay. I was saying that that's an area of your life where there is a lot of evidence that you are not trying to decide for people whether they are ready for that message or whether they need that message. You know, they need it, and they need it ready or not. And so you're going to show up and deliver the message. So what are some of the thoughts that motivate you when it comes to that? Because we can apply those thoughts here.
Because I know that I need the salvation of God, and that there's the salvation with God. I know I don't talk a lot about my church and stuff, but my co-pastor has been teaching on the provisions of God, and one of those that he has given me is plexus. And so that I know that provides for us in so many ways, and he can provide for others as well.
Yes.
Sorry if I'm preaching to y'all.
Yes, that's an awesome one.
Julie's a good one. Yes, I do believe Jesus designed me. I love that.
Jesus designed us to be healthy. Yes. God has given me the provision of plexus, and it can provide for others too. What about when you are going to share the gospel with people that you know don't want to hear it? Because you actually expressed a fear that the people you would invite to an event don't want to hear it. So you've got people that are, indifferent, but then you also maybe have people that you're thinking don't want to hear it. So what do you think when you are going to share a message with people who don't want to hear it?
That's the ones I have to pray and fast more.
Okay.
And that's how it was actually when I started with Sister Cindy. I have always been one loud, outspoken, if that makes sense. My first day on campus, for the first time in my life, I got told to speak up. I was so scared, but God started giving me what to say to them. And so I started and it started helping me get more bold.
Okay. I'm loving this because the very same thing can be done when you decide I'm going to share plexus in my local community. I don't know where, I don't know how, but I'm going to ramp up my praying and my fasting, and I'm going to expect God to give me the words. So I think that's another great one that you can practice. Okay. Thank you, Myrna.
You're welcome.
Charlotte, can you unmute? And then I think Gretchen, I would love for you to get to dive in with Charlotte some, because she and I have had so much one-on-one time that I'd be curious for what you and she could chat about.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
So basically I had told Carissa at Gold School that I literally dread in-person events. Which I do online once or twice a week, and I'm like so comfortable with that. But in person I get nervous because I want it to be like really pretty and like organized. And when I've done them in the past, like everything goes really great, except that I get so nervous to go for the full-on ask. And I feel like if you don't do it, then they kind of fall by the wayside. And then if it's for someone who's not really in it, like the two people that said they would do it, they're like, probably no one's going to come. And that's like their whole mindset towards it. So I have to convince them, well, you and I have been talking for a year before you decided that you wanted to sign up. So don't think that the first time you text them that's enough exposure, you know. We have to expose them a few more times. Well, this person doesn't have Facebook, so that's why I felt like I really needed to do an in-person with her. But as I'm going through this with her, I also had this scary, scary business ask to a really, really close friend. And she told me to, I would appreciate it if you would just stop talking to me about this. And so I'm trying to like tell myself, oh, that's just, you know, her opinion and it's okay and it's not personal and I didn't do anything wrong. But the other part of me that is like people pleasery and doesn't want anyone mad at me is like, so here I'm trying to coach this other girl and be like, no, we're going to do this event and it's going to be awesome. But in the back of my mind, I'm like dealing with a lot of doubt too.
Mhm. So were you talking about doing events yourself personally in person or with a level one or both?
I've done them both ways, and I just am much more successful online because it's only 20 minutes out of people's day and I don't have to dedicate a whole like day to it. I can be right if no one shows up, I'm back with my baby in 30 minutes and no loss there. Whereas like if I have to drive a couple hours and set up and no one comes or they come but they don't, you know, it just doesn't go like I just have that anxiety of like, is it going to be like that? Even though I know I shouldn't judge it off the past, that each person is different, each event is different, but it's just hard not to like, you know, think about your past experience.
Mhm. Yeah. So just a couple of thoughts. Um, yeah, you're mentioning a a couple of other things there. Um, yeah, I've done just a number of different kinds of events, and I've just been so encouraged by a story that I heard from one of the double diamonds. There was an event that a diamond was doing for one of her people, and another double diamond was going to be there, and they had one person show up and they poured into that one person. And just hearing that story, um, you mentioned dreading doing these things because you want them to be perfectly organized and really, really pretty. And I just wonder, I don't know, would it free you to put your focus more on them? Just even if it's only one person, do they need it to be pretty or organized in order to be blessed and to have their lives transformed?
No, they don't.
Mhm. Even something that's fast, that's simple, that just exposes to them and um, allows you to focus on them and share with them, that can have that impact.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a freeing thought for you.
I had thought about like in the past we had beautiful slides and on like these little we made coasters with all these before and afters and I brought every single product and gave samples away to everybody. We made like little active gummies, all this elaborate stuff. And I was just so exhausted after all the presentation. It's like I couldn't even enjoy talking to people because I was still so nervous. Work I put into, I think. and I maybe this time I'll just go with my sample, but maybe to them, like, instead of having perfect and all this that
I because fan um I homeschool learning disabilities. So I mean, like everybody else, there's a lot on the plate. But when I see someone else do something simple, that encourages and empowers me that I can do it too. Um, Fancy is lovely and fancy is gorgeous. I love that. But as far as duplication, it sets me free to see that this is something that I can do too. And I think as long as we can connect with people, that's really what it's about, right? And as far as, you know, going for the ask, um, that's something that I would personally practice ahead of time, especially if I'm nervous about it, and just practice the wording until it feels comfortable. Because on, until they start, we can't help them. You know, we can talk about it all day long, but until they get the products in their body, until, you know, they start the business, it's not going to bless their health and it's not going to bless their finances. So I love the way that you're starting to think of just keeping it personal, keeping it simple, and keeping it connective in the way that you're engaging with people. And I think that is what is so powerful about in-person events. Oh, I just remembered I had another event that I did with a level one and a couple of years ago, where she invited, you know, some of her local team, and she invited some prospects. None of her prospects showed up. Only some of her people who were already on Plexus came. But you know what? We connected with those people. I think Justin and Megan were there too. We connected with those people, and a lot of them turned into the business builders that I have today.
Oh,
And
that's so cool.
it is. So we could have looked at that and gone, oh my goodness, that was a total failure. No new signups. It was not a total failure. You know, in all labor, there is profit. And little did we know that that would be planting seeds. And those people are still around today, and they're adding and they're growing and they're building teams of their own. So whatever you do, it is not without profit. There will be fruit from it in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. Okay, so you'd mentioned this close, dear friend of yours that you had so vulnerably asked, and had that, you know, less than warm, fuzzy response. Just so you know, Justin is my sponsor. And the first time he brought up Plexus in a conversation, we were in a group setting, and I left the group. I walked away because I did not want to hear it. I was very much against MLMs, just did not want to be involved. So there's just that little tidbit for you. And here I am, a senior Ruby on his team. But, you know, you just keep loving that person, because that's your motive, isn't it? I mean, your
Yes.
motives are pure. We see the full picture. We experience the fellowship and the growth and the connection and the blessing and the benefit. And we want that for people, but they don't necessarily see what we see. So, you know, knowing that your motives are pure and loving, and that you were reaching out to her from a heart of love and from wanting her to share and to enjoy. And she may not see that, and that's okay. But, you know, don't take guilt or shame or negativity upon yourself for inviting her to share in the community and the friendship and the growth and the fellowship and the health and all of the richness and the beauty that we have here. So anyway, I hope that helps you a little bit.
It does. I mean, in part of my mind, I will talk to my mom about it too. My mom's on the call, but I was just like, I I wasn't expecting to change her mind when because she said, "Oh, I don't really think that's for me. I think that's your thing." And I was like, "Well," I used that wording from that book that we exactly what to say. And he said to say, "Well, what do you know about our company and how it's different?" And so basically I said something similar, like, "Well, what I do is a little bit different. I'm not expecting to change your mind, but would you at least, hear about why I love it and what it's done for me and what it could possibly do for you, even if it doesn't change your mind, but just to know, because I know you have a big heart and you love to travel and you want to." And she had said she wants financial freedom. And that's when she came back with, "I'd really appreciate if you would stop bringing this up to me," which this is like only the first time that I've directly brought up the business. Other time I gave her a couple free samples and she liked them. So I get like the shakes, like, because I feel like, oh, she's totally misunderstanding me. But then it's like, it hurts that they don't even want to hear like why you like it, even when, because you would do that for them, right? Even if it's something you're not interested in. But then I was like, oh, it has nothing to do with me. It's everything about her own. But it's hard to convince yourself sometimes. Like, you know what I
But
mean?
yeah, because emotionally we want to, our natural is to go to make it personal, or to be upset, or to feel misunderstood. That's a big one, isn't it? We want to be able to to lay it all out there and have people understand everything. But yeah, when Justin and Megan were first talking about it, I didn't want to hear about it either.
What
didn't.
changed your mind? I'm just really curious.
Um, the Lord. The Lord did. My hubby, I had been praying for years about another stream of income, because my hubby's job is very physical and it's not something that he's going to be able to do long term. And obviously we have very young children that we need to support for a long time. So my hubby said, "Hey, Justin is quitting his job to do this. I think we should look into it." And I, without saying no, I told him no, absolutely not, with all of the reasons why this was not for us. And then that night I was laying in bed and the Lord said, "Gretchen, the very first time that your husband brought up another financial opportunity for you, you shut him down and told him no." And I was like, "Oh, good Lord, it's network marketing." And so I sat there and I told the Lord all of the reasons it was not going to work for us, because obviously hadn't been listening when I told my husband. But I did agree to go along and to listen, to keep my husband from getting sucked into something that was going to be terrible for us. That was my mindset going in. And this is something I was thinking about with Myrna, because what really won me over was the fact that the business plan, it was so different from what I expected. It didn't have the hoops. It didn't have the relational pressure. It didn't have, I didn't have to stock products and mail it. I didn't even have to do parties in my home. All of these things that I had assumed and that I had seen with other companies did not apply in Plexus. And so when Myrna was talking about her friends being in network marketing, what came to my mind was, what an opportunity to show them there is a different way to do this, because Plexus is so different. So anyway, that was another thought over there, and that's a little piece of my story. But if your friend is wanting that income, just know that you planted a seed and pray over it. The Lord knows what she needs. And if this is for her, and we know it is a good thing, the Lord can change your heart like that. He can do more in 3 days than we can do in 3 years. But the timing of that is in his hand. And you did your part by being faithful, by sharing what you have, and by sharing it in a sweet and loving way. And all of those negative feelings and all that pushback, that's on her, and that's where she's at right now. That's not you, because you did it, and you did it lovingly, and you did it well.
Thank you. And what I thought of, Gretchen, when you were sharing, was that if Justin and Megan had seen your, brick wall response and internalized that and made it about them and made it self-focused, this turned out to be the thing that God was changing your mind about. And if they had made it about them and not shared with you, then that opportunity wouldn't have been there. So Charlotte, we all just want to affirm to you that you did well, like you did right. And it's hard not to make it about you especially when the response hurts. But not making it about you may be the very way that God is able to change her mind, because you were willing to risk vulnerability to plant that seed. And I thought I would end us with a quick quote, because we've brought up the topic of vulnerability a couple of times, and I read this today and I really liked it. There is a place past the word vulnerability. It's called redemption, where whatever happened to us, whatever we did, no longer holds the power of shame over us, because the touch of the hand of God has turned it into gold. And so that vulnerable action that you took, that vulnerable action that Justin and Megan took, what happened with it? Well, God redeemed it. The hand of God touched it and turned it into gold. So let's keep being vulnerable. Oh, where is that from? That is a quote from Voddie Baucham. I hope you all know who that is. It's spelled Voddie Baucham, I think Baucham, from one of his sermons called Brokenness. So let's keep being vulnerable, but let's keep being vulnerable with the expectation that God is going to take all our vulnerability and turn it into redemption, and lay his hand on it like he did in your story, Gretchen. I'm so glad you shared that. Okay, guys, thank you so much for being on tonight. We'll get the recording up for everybody. We're gonna open this call up and share it just to whoever, any and all, because I feel like this topic is so relevant, so needed. So we will get that recording out to everyone soon. Good night.